If you're watching this on YouTube, subscribe. If you're listening to this on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, leave a 5-star review. And if you really want to show support, share a thought by leaving a comment.
Suleiman, welcome back, brother.
Love it.
You mentioned that you came to live with your father.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about like that kind of background of where your mother lived, where your father lived,
Sure.
and where the rest of your family lived.
Sure, for sure. So my parents, it's a very lovely story, this one. So we're originally South African, my family. Generations of my family have been refugees. Like I said, apartheid happened. So my family kind of lived in exile. They left South Africa, moved to Zimbabwe, this is when Zimbabwe was like tops, best Southern African country, highest literacy rates in the country. Like it was tops, beautiful country, like way better than South Africa. Funny how that works out, huh? And then my dad, being like a accounting, economics person, noticed very quickly like the country is in recession, something's coming. So my dad was like, I'm out. He kind of moved himself to Namibia, and then he moved the rest of us to Namibia. We just kind of like nomads that we are. We moved to Namibia, grew up there. And then my dad left in like 1998, came to this country. My dad was always in like looking for greener pastures. You know how it is as immigrants. It's like wherever I make the most pee, wherever I can send that to my family, we're set. Wherever you can get the best education, we're set. So my dad was always kind of like doing that for our betterment. And then he would come back and, at this point, my mom and him were kind of working to, like I said, they went to school much later. They studied, became lecturers, all that great stuff. And then it just didn't work. I guess like the stress of being away from each other for so long, family politics, they just were like, you go your way, I go mine. And the way they like split it then was like my dad took my older sister and me to come live with him. This happened when I was about 9 and my older sister 16ish. And my younger sister and my second older sister were with my mum. So that's kind of how my family were split. How I feel about it, I feel like they did the best thing at the time, or they thought they did the best thing at the time for us. Would it have been easier had we grown up as a unit? Absolutely. A lot of time was lost not knowing who my siblings are. A lot of time is spent now kind of redefining the relationships we have and who we are as people. But it's meant to be, man. That's how it was meant to be.
How often did you visit them, and did you maintain like communications with them and stuff? Like, what was that like?
When I was younger, not so much. I didn't really have my own phone. It was one of them ones where you bought a calling card. You know that one?
Safari Talk.
That exactly, Safari Talk. You know the ones. My dad would be like, every Friday, let's go buy calling cards. That was our motive, bruv. So that's what we did. And where you can spend like 5 minutes on the phone, like, yeah, what'd you say? Okay, I can't hear you. And then it's like, you have 2 minutes left. That was the experience. But like as I've gotten older, we have phones now. There's no excuse. Like WhatsApp call my mum every time I'm having a meltdown. Mum, how do I do this? My sisters as well. Yeah, man. Like that's how we kind of kept in contact.
Talk about your dad's response to you getting a first.
Yeah.
Big up. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Let's just let that breathe.
Don't know. Sorry.
What's your mum's response to your, as you put it, meltdown?
Oh my days. My mum
highs and lows,
is my biggest cheerleader. Like and you know what? I don't know if it's because my dad, it's the expectation, like, BE is set, like I expect great things from her, So in my dad, it's always like, okay, what else can she do? What else can she do? it's kind of like my dad raised me to not fear anything. You know, my dad's always said to me, you can do it. Like, if this person can do it, you absolutely can do it. That's how he's always said things to me. And I think because of that expectation, my dad's never outright told me he's proud of me. I see it in his actions, and he brags to the aunties. I've never heard it. I've never heard it, but he brags to the aunties like, that's my daughter. Personally, I've never had it. Heard it myself. Even on graduation, I will not forget what he said to me. Like, I was gassed. I was like, don't chat to me unless you got offers. And he was like, his response back to me was, don't chat to me unless you have a master's. And I was like, okay, cool. We're doing this, yeah? We're doing this. So it's always been that expectation from my dad. But my mum, even if you write your name perfectly in that exam and you don't do anything else, I love her. She'll be like, that's amazing. You're amazing. You're a star. You can achieve. I don't know if it's just the motherly way, or she knows that my dad's expectation is so high on me that anything I do, like, she'll big me up. She'll gas me. Like, if I get a C, my mum will act like it's an A. She'll be like, by the way, I've never got a C, just saying. But if I did, she'll gas me. Yeah. Whereas the polar opposites, complete polar opposites. Yeah.
Do you feel like you respond better with one as opposed to the other, or do you feel like you need both?
I need both. I'm not gonna lie to you. My dad is very stoic as a person, very much like, get a grip, you need to revise. Like, okay, it's hard, life is hard, to get a grip. You know what I mean? Whereas my mum is very like, it's okay, babe, you tried your hardest. And sometimes when I feel sorry for myself, I need my mum to say those words to me, you know. I need that self-soothing talk. I need to feel like I'm not a failure, you know, it's fine. But then the person I am and what I set out to achieve and what I want to achieve, my dad's voice is always in my head. Always in my subconscious. I just hear it like, get a grip, you need to do this, get a grip. I need a balance of the two. Yeah,
you know, what's coming through to me is that, like, there's a certain expectation from, let's say, your father, and then there's a certain, let's say, maternal instinct from your mother.
Yeah.
How does, like, the expectation from your father weighing heavy on you, or like being a constant thought in your mind, have a relationship with the expectations of other people, like at uni and all of that?
That's mad. That's such a really good question, because I feel like, because of like what I achieve and how I do, there is that quiet expectation to people like, B, you got this. Like, what are you nervous for, man? Come on, man, you've done this before. Meanwhile, my blood pressure is like here. My mom's saying to me like, oh my God, like, you know, you're fine, but you know, I know you're gonna do well. My dad like, okay, I don't expect any better from me. You know, this is what you're supposed to do. And then like having it from my friends as well is very like overwhelming. It's very overwhelming. I've never really spoken about this because I guess I just take it in my stride. But I have very debilitating anxiety, and I think a lot of it is caused by stuff like the expectation from my dad, from my friends, from lecturers, from people that know of me. Like, I might not know them, but they'll just be like, oh my God, BT, I read your article, or I saw your podcast. Oh my God, you're such a this person, you're so inspiring, you're this. And it's just like, bro, I'm just trying to relax. Like, don't put that on me. And that's not even the worst. I think because of all of this, I've internalized it so much myself that I don't even need my dad to say anything, or my friend. I'm doing the pressuring myself now. It's like, okay, why are you struggling to do this? Get a grip, do it. You've done this before. You're better than this. Like, how can you fail like this? Even if it's not a failure, even if it's a setback. So it can be something as minor as, you've given me a deadline for today. and I can't meet that deadline for whatever reason, in my mind, it feels like the end of the world because I've let myself down. So yeah, that's what expectation does to you.
Talk and walk us through what your anxiety looks and feels like.
I know that I'm anxious when the organization that I very much like live by, it starts to crumble. So if you know me, I'm quite an organized person. Let me not lie, I'm very organized. Like to the T, I can tell you how my day is gonna look, which is not good.
Is that the day before, the night before?
It depends. It depends how forward thinking I want to be. Sometimes it gives me, like, if I know I have a busy week, the whole week will be planned. If I know that it's not too busy, I can do it in the night in my downtime, plan my day for tomorrow. Yeah, I can do that. But it really depends on how the week's looking. And I have like a little schedule in my head, but then I actually write things down and then I write it on my phone. That's already anxiety, as you can see there. The organization on top of the organization, that's already manifesting because I don't want to miss anything. And then away from all of that is the restlessness. So when I'm doing something, I'm never present. I'm always thinking, all right, I need to finish this so I can do X. I need to finish this so I can, and then ping, phone, something else I have to. I'm never present. Like, that's something I realized in the pandemic, because that's the only time in my life I've ever had to sit and be present, as in watch the clock go from 9, 10, 11 without like go, something to do. So I'm never present. And then there's, of course, the, oh my God, this is not good. This is rubbish. I need to start again. But you can't start again. You have to do something else. What are you doing, Beauty? Oh my God, stop it. Stop worrying. And then it's me like trying to self-soothe and knowing that I'm trying to do that because the anxiety is playing games with me, but then also unable to do that. And then my heart, the physical symptoms start, my heart. And then I drink more coffee, which doesn't make it any better. And I'm like talking to people like, yeah, I'm great, man. How are you? Everything is like catching up with me. And in my head, it's just like, I'm wasting time. Like, it'll be stuff like, I'm talking to my dad. In my head, I'm thinking it's a waste of time. I could be doing it. It's madness. I know it's madness. It just happens like that. Do you know what, Salman? I'm not gonna lie to you. I've been in and out of therapy for 10 years. And there's a reason it's been 10 years. So I think having that constant support for about 10 years was super helpful. But I'm in a stage in my life where I don't really have that support anymore. Partly out of like choice, because it's like, bro, come on, man, you've been in and out for 10 years, you have all the tools. That's not to say like you should stop going to therapy. I absolutely need to go back to therapy. I know I do. But that definitely used to really help me. So something that I love to do is to journal. It just gives me a lot of perspective on whatever it is I think I'm failing versus the reality of it. You know, I'll write stuff down like, okay, this is how I feel this month about XYZ. This is what I didn't achieve. This is why I didn't achieve it, or I feel like I didn't achieve it. And in that moment, I leave it in my journal. And it's fine, it's done. I don't have to think about it anymore. I can move away from it. And when I come back again to make an entry, I always read my last entry, as you do. And I'm just like, wow, I was so dumb. Like, why was I stressing about this? It got done. Like, sure, I didn't meet the deadline or it didn't, like, materialize the way I thought it would. But come on, man, why are you stressed? So it's always like that really, really helped me, like, to see on paper, like, you're not a failure, man. Relax with all that negative talk. I hate when people say try mindfulness, but I won't lie to you, it actually helped me. It actually really helped me. And I mean in...
Now, what does that mean though? Mindfulness. What does it mean to try mindfulness?
So I don't mean in the listen to a woman talking you through like your entire body map and like feeling the floor or ground, being present, or I mean like the self-soothing talk to calm yourself, like just the idea of being present, no? So for me, that really, it works sometimes and it don't. It just depends on the state of anxiety I'm in. Like sometimes, oh my God, like sometimes I can't. I'll be like, focus on your breath. And I'm just like, yeah, I can't do this. I need to finish whatever I'm doing. This is a waste of my time. There are other times though where I'll just completely remove myself from whatever situation I'm in. Like if I'm in my room and the little anxiety, a panic attack is starting to happen, I'll go to the kitchen. I'll drink a glass of water and like really drink it. Like notice every drop, notice my cup, that kind of stuff. Like notice how the water comes out. Is the water cold enough? That kind of stuff. Like really just kind of going through a process in whatever I'm doing. I'm not gonna lie and say talking helps me, because I feel like people don't understand the experience in its entirety for me. And that's not to say people don't understand anxiety. I feel like once you have anxiety or you've experienced anxiety, I'm not going to say it's universal, but you kind of have an inkling like, rah, okay, I get it. The sweaty palms, the heartbeat, tight chest, right, cool. I hear that. I've got that sometimes. But I think for me, because of who I am or the perception that people have of me, maybe in their head, when I say it might be a bit like, anxiety. No. Like when I say to people before a speech, oh, I'm really nervous, they'll be like, shit, okay. Because I'll go up there and bust a speech. Meanwhile, I am shaking inside. I'm like, oh my God, I missed a word. Oh my God, I missed a line. But no one sees that. It's not so much that people don't believe me, but maybe it's just that bit harder to be like, how can someone like you be anxious? Do you know what I mean? So journaling definitely helped me. Self-soothing, mindfulness kind of helped me. But not mindfulness in the way that NHS like to promote. That is rubbish. I mean, in just trying to be a lot more present with what I'm doing.
Yeah. So there's something that you said in a previous episode that has just come to mind. Yeah, it was. I'm trying to remember what episode it was. I think it was with Baker, and you were talking about how when you play football, or like when you were playing football at that moment in time, your self-talk was quite harsh. You were quite harsh to yourself. How do you feel like your self-talk has evolved, changed? Like what's your self-talk like now in recent times?
I think I would say my self-talk is quite pragmatic. It's quite rational, maybe overly rational. And by that, and I think one of the challenges of like overly rational self-talk is that, or something I've noticed is that what you perceive as rational is like slightly subjective all the time. But when you frame it as very, very rational, you don't even acknowledge the subjectiveness of the whole enterprise. And so you end up like taking your self-talk as like matter. This is just a fact. This is just what it is. And so therefore I need to adjust accordingly. And I think I've noticed a danger in that, like, hold on, actually, it's not necessary. Like all of this has a tinge of my own like thoughts or like negative expectations or all of these things, or like hyper positive expectations that again don't reflect reality. And so I would say, like, in a sense, one way it's changed is that I think I've allowed myself a sense of grace in terms of, okay, cool, maybe this is not the whole picture. Whereas before I was like, nah, this black and white, like this is just what it is, isn't it? Like
retweet.
Yeah. And I think that's probably one.
Do you know,
change.
it's funny you say that, Sad, because when it comes to other people, I have so much grace. So much grace. It'd be like, do you know, I understand. Like, this is how myself, get a grip, B. Like, what's wrong with you? It's so funny you're saying that. Yeah, that's interesting.
You mentioned off air. Are we on air?
Off the record.
That like the last, well, one of the in recent years there was a period where it was like a transformative period.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about that?
Sure. So when I was about 23, Yeah, I just, hang on, how old am I now? 25. 23. When was 23? 29?
2019,
20. Yeah, so I was just finishing, coming to finish my masters at that time, or like
Just finishing stepping on the neck of UCL.
yeah,
Heard that?
you know it. But yeah, no. So I was just finishing into that, and just a lot of things were happening in my own personal life. Like I was estranged from my family.
Say that again. You was
Estranged. Did I say estranged?
No.
Wow, the English is fighting me.
What do you mean by that?
Yeah, I wasn't talking to anyone in my family.
Okay.
Yeah. So that was interesting.
Mm-hmm.
That was very like, bro, I'm alone. I was in UCL trying to hold this perfect image of beauty, this successful person that everyone thinks things happen so effortlessly for. At this point in my life, I went back into therapy as well. Like I had to go back to the GP for like depression. Sorry, I can never say that seriously. I have to. It just lessens like me talking about it. It's the first time I've ever been put on antidepressants. So there's all of this stuff going on in my head, but there's also a lot of stuff happening externally to me. I have to still be the smart one, still be a successful one, not talking to family. All of these things are happening in my head. I'm breaking down. Like when I say I took L's that year, it was like one after the other. Just no one was there to see it. And it's so weird because in terms of like academics and career, I was doing great. I was having the best time. Like I was like nominated to speak for this. Wow. Like at work, I got a promotion. All of this great stuff was happening. But behind the scenes, I was a shadow of former versions of myself. So it was everything you were seeing was just a facade.
Yeah.
Like not confident, rock bottom, belief in myself, just not there. And then COVID happened. And it happened at the best and worst time of my life. It happened at the best time because I was just finishing my master's. You know, there wasn't really that pressure like, oh my God, what am I going to do? It was just me and my laptop and my disc. And I was like, right, go time, B. We got this. But then everyone left. All my friends left. They went back home. I was in halls by myself. And I said to myself, this will either kill you or like you're going to come out of it stronger and better. And I sat with myself, and like I said to you off record, so much introspection happened. I was forced to be introspective in the habits in my life and how I thought about myself, in what I was engaging with, not just in terms of like media consumption, but I mean like with people, what I was talking about, who I was talking to, how I was spending my time. And I'm not gonna lie to you, I was just like, yeah, I need to cut the crap. that just came back again. Even when I was probably at the lowest point in my life that I've ever been in, that voice of reason, my dad's voice was in there, like, get a grip. And slowly but surely I did. But the reason I say it was transformative, it's the first time in my life I ever gave myself grace. I was just like, do you know what, B? Like, you're doing the thing, but all of this is happening. Like, you're actually amazing. You're small. Like, everyone who always gasses you up and says, oh my God, I want to be like you when I grow up, which is hilarious, by the way. They're not lying. Like, I want to be like you when you grow up. Like, you're doing a damn thing. And for me, that was the first time ever I ever saw myself as a person, not just as another goal or achievement or another statistic I can add to my resume. Or I don't know why I said resume like I'm American. My CV. None of that. It's the first time I think I ever really saw myself, and I was tired. I was tired, man. And I don't just, it was a spiritual sort of tiredness. Like, I've carried all of this all on my back for so long. I've forgotten about everything that is in front of me. Like, I'm not talking to God the way I used to. You know, I'm not soothing my mind. I'm not nurturing myself. I'm the same grace I'm giving to everyone. I'm not doing that. What's wrong with you? And it was the first time I ever did that. And it really transformed my life. Like, when I there was one assignment I didn't get the grade that I wanted. And when I saw that, I was like, it's okay. Because usually I'm ready to write an email like, please, can you let me know where I went wrong? Can I have feedback? Why did you mark me? No, there was none of that. It was like, okay, that's the grade I got. Cool. Although you best know that on the next one, there was no games played. But yeah, like all of that stuff, like I just kind of start to give myself grace. And after I finished my master's, you know, everyone kind of goes into this frenzy, like, what are you going to do? Are you going to graduate scheme? All of that. So I was not thinking about any of that. Like I told you, I was vibing. That is the best summer I've had in my life. No thoughts, nothing. And for the first time, I didn't see like deadlines. I didn't see like relationships as like personal goals and stuff or transactional. It was very like, you're dealing with people. You are a person. You need to take time. And I just took time, like family stuff. I spoke to my family. I sorted it. I was like, okay. And it wasn't get a grip. Oh, they're being unfair. Da, 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 da. It was like, no, I'm going to listen to them. I'm going to make them listen to me. We're going to sort this. Friends, same thing. Academics, same thing. I was like, calm. Yeah, I want to stay in academia, but not right now. I'm going to take a break. I'm going to do whatever I want to do. And I sat down with myself. I thought, what do I really want to do? At that point in my life, I was obsessed with comms because I felt like...
Communication?
Yeah. Okay. Health comms particularly, because I felt like the way that was handled in the pandemic, mess. So I just really got obsessed with it. I woke up one day and I decided I want to do comms. And I was like, okay, that's what we're going to do. I got an internship in comms, really enjoyed it. And then I got a job in health comms, worst 3 months of my life, but it's a learning curve. And I was like, okay, maybe I don't want to do this. Let me try something else. Went into policy. And since then, I've literally been living my life kind of like taking things in my stride. Not so much as my 5-year plan. I'm not going to lie, I still have a 5-year plan, but there is a lot of flexibility within it. Whereas before, it was like, if this is not achieved in 2022, there's going to be big problems. You guys tell me, what's the problem? What is the problem? Well, I just didn't achieve a goal. No, that's not a way to live life. And I think just realizing that, like, it's okay if you didn't achieve it in 2022. There's always 2023. But what are you doing that you like and you enjoy in 2022 to get you to that goal, potentially in 2023? I think there was just such a shift in my mind and how I thought about things and how I saw goals and what success meant to me. Yeah, that was really the transformation at that point in my life. It was just like, okay.
The first time I heard the phrase 5-year plan was when I was doing A-level history, and it was Joseph Stalin. So that's always...
I'm done.
I have 2 questions. One is, you described that particular point as being the lowest ever. Like, why would you describe it as that? And 2, what was the background for allowing yourself grace? Like, where did that come from?
Sorry. The first question was... Lowest point. Why was that the lowest? Do you know what? I think that's the first time in my life I have ever failed. And I don't mean in terms of, like, academia and stuff. I just mean personally. In like personal relationships. And I think sometimes people don't realize that you can have failures outside of like work or like school or stuff like that. For me, that's the first time I ever failed, like complete breakdowns in relationship, complete breakdowns in how I handled situations. And I think for me, it was just like, wow, B, like I expected so much better from you. You know, like you talk the good talk, you're out here advising your friends, you know, you are Oloni in every situation, and you're not even living by your own words. What is that? What do we call that? Hypocrite. And for me, that was such a like, it shook me when I deeped that. I was like, oh my God, I'm a failure. I'm out here telling people, you know, live your life in this way, treat your siblings in this way, forgive your friends, and I'm out here like, I'm not talking to her until she apologizes, you're in the wrong, da da da, all of that stuff. For me, it was just such a big wake up call, like, you're failing who you are, who you were brought up to be as a person. And for me, integrity is the most important, like, characteristic that you can have, after being God-fearing, obviously, within yourself. And when I clocked that, I was like, oh, we need to rewind because something went wrong here. This is not, when I think about what legacy I've left in life, I don't just want it to be attributed to materialistic things like, come, I got all the A's and the first, whatever, I'm amazing, all of that good stuff. How did I treat people? How did I make them feel? What was my relationship like with them? How did I talk to people? Do they remember the things I said to them? How did I make them feel? Like, that's so, because for the life of me, we can be friends for 20 odd years, whatever. We cannot speak for, or lose touch or whatever, but I will never forget how someone has made me feel. And I just kind of kept that in my head over and over again. So for me, that was the first time I ever failed myself or felt like I'd let other people down in that respect. And because of that, I just let myself go. Like, in every single way you can think of, I just let mentally, physically, every way. It was just like, I'm done with life. And that's probably why depression just went and just like hit me. And usually I like to think I'm okay with coming out of a slump, like not telling myself to get a grip, but like, okay, BE, this is how you're feeling, embrace this feeling, but we're not going to dwell in it. What we're not going to do is dwell in it. It's okay to be sad, all of that stuff. This is my positive self-talk I'm sharing with you right now. It's okay to be sad, like, embrace it, but you need to come out of it. You know, we take it slowly, step by day. This time, I couldn't even do that. That voice was no longer there. It was just like, I don't care. Life is meaningless. Don't care. No purpose. Don't want anything. I don't care. Yeah, I want to do well. That's the only thing that matters to me. Don't care about people. I hurt your feelings, okay? Sorry. Don't care. It was very bleak. Like, that. It's not someone I recognize because I care a lot. Even though, like, it might seem I don't care, I care so much about so many things. So to reach that stage in my life, it was like scary. This is scary. And your second question was about grace. How did I give myself grace? Something had to change, Sazdine. I'm not gonna lie to you. Something had to change. I said to myself, this will consume me. And I've been low before, A-levels. Let's not talk about that. I've been low before, but not in this way. And I was like, I cannot have a repeat of A-levels. That cannot happen. You know, that was a really hard time in my life. Like, I had to take a gap year because I was sectioned. Long stuff. Yeah. You're shocked, innit? He said, what? Yeah.
We can cut this bit of the conversation out, but is school, like, should we not touch on school?
Oh, no, we can. I'm just playing. I'm just playing. No, he was just shocked. Yeah, like, that kind of stuff. That was a really tough time in my life because of the amount of pressure I put on myself to succeed. The amount of, like, drive, like, I got so ill. I lost so much weight.
Is this A-levels specifically? Okay.
Yeah, a lot of my friends who might do A-levels they don't know this about me. But yeah, guys, that's why I didn't go to university with you guys. I was sectioned. But yeah, yeah. And I remember that at that point in my life, and I was just like, this was in uni now. I was like, we're not doing that again, Beauty. We're not. You're completely different now. Circumstances have changed, okay? Everything you thought you didn't do, you've done. What would that well, how old are you in A-levels? 18-year-old, 18, 19-year-old say to you, yeah? You wanted to go to King's, you went to King's. You wanted to go to UCL, you went to UCL. Okay. So what's going on? Let's figure it out. Let's take this day by day. And I kid you not, when I say you, I was living day by day. I would wake up, and I stopped waking up at like ridiculous times, like 5, 6, early bird catches the what? Stop. 9 o'clock, I'd wake up. If I didn't want to do anything, I wouldn't do anything. It was that simple. If I wanted to take a walk, I would take a walk. I hurt my account a bit because it was like, I'm going to treat myself. I'm going to treat myself. I deserve it. Shouldn't have done that. But yeah, and I literally took it by the day. I'm not joking when I say that made all the difference, because what happened in A-levels was it got to a point before my exams. Day before my exam, I'm just like, I know I can't do this, but I have to do this. Get a grip. All of that talk is coming back to me. Beauty, you're so dumb, man. Like, everyone else can do this. You've studied this for 2 years and now you're chickening out. What was all the effort for? What's the late nights for? And instead of like positive kind of self-soothing myself in the way that I do now, it was all negative. And the day of my exam, I was just like, I cannot do this.
Beauty's going to share a personal account some may find distressing. Forward 5 minutes if you want to skip ahead.
I don't know how comfortable you guys feel like me sharing with this. I was just like, I'm done with life. And I made an attempt on my life. I was like, we out. Like, I'm about to meet my creator right now. I'm sorry I can't talk about this seriously. Humor is like my intermediate, but yeah. And yeah, after that, I was just like, I just did not care. I did not care. And when I stopped caring, like I said, I care a lot. When I stop caring, it's really scary. So after that summer was such a blur to me. I don't really remember what happened. I was in and out of hospital.
Was this the day before or the day of your
No,
exam?
I remember. It's the 8th of June, 2015. It was my biology exam. Biology paper 4. Yeah, man, I couldn't do it. And this is the thing, like, it's not funny now, but I always laugh. My dad he laughed at me on graduation. He was like, do you remember when you tried to kill yourself? Not in like a mean way, but he was just kind of like, can I ask you a question about that? And I was like, what? He was like, why did you call the cops if you were trying to like peace out? And I just said, I don't think I actually wanted to peace out, It was just a lot of not knowing how to handle that pressure and that internalized expectation. My dissertation in undergrad was exploring the use of humor in mental health care. And then I took it again to postgrad, and I kind of explored how Black women use humor in their mental health. So when I say that, humor is my lifeline.
Do you know the voice in your head on that
day? Yeah.
How would you describe it? Was it a rational voice? Was it a very calm voice? Was it quite frantic?
You're taking me way back, man. What was it like? Very rational, I think. And this is what we were just talking about, the spectrum of rationality. In that moment, it's very black and white. It was very like, okay, can't do this anymore. Clearly not cut out for life or pressure. This has to be done. It's a done deal. And it's the same thing when I got to my master's and I finished. It was very like, well, clearly you're struggling with life. Like, it's a done. And I just caught myself though. The difference is back then I didn't catch myself because it's completely irrational. Like, back then it should have been like, really, you're going to try and end your life because of an exam? Lol, okay, just postpone it, But when you're in that mind frame, it's so hard to step out of yourself and realize the short-term versus the long-term consequence of how you're thinking about things. And I'm so grateful that when it came to giving myself grace this time, it might be the experience in years. It might be the 10 years in and out of therapy. It might be just me working on that inner monologue that was able to be like, okay, BE, we have been through so many different seasons in life. Sometimes it's very good. Sometimes it's very not good, you know? So in that way, I was able to see like myself outside of myself, if that makes sense, and kind of like rationalize my irrationality. Like this isn't normal. Okay. And I guess that's just something I couldn't do, because you have to understand, like when A levels was, I say this is the first time I failed more holistically in my life, but A levels was the first time I failed in not being able to do something. So you have to understand, like, and I mean like academically, like academics is my thing. What do you mean you can't do it? That was the first time, wow, there's such a thing as failure. You know?
Yeah. There's two things that come to mind when you say that. One is that I know you're a writer, because you said one of the hardest bars, which is, I was a shadow of a former version of myself. I was like, what? And the second thing is that what you said earlier, which is that it was one of the first times you saw yourself as a whole person.
Yeah.
And like, I think one thing that I feel like I'm getting from you is that sometimes the challenges come when we equate ourselves to this one thing.
Oh my God, yeah.
I like beauty equals
Yeah.
good academia, and it's like,
Yeah.
if that gets thrown into question, then beauty gets thrown into question herself, and then it just
Absolutely. I guess academia is my identifier. It's, I don't know how I feel about it. I don't have an absolute value-based judgment on it. You know, people see me like, oh, be a global health babe, ha ha ha. And it's just like, yeah, I love to write about global health and development and all of this stuff and talk about it and theorize about it. That's not me. And I always laugh when people, like, so sometimes I'll put out a tweet of something that's happened in global health and I'm not happy about, and I'm like, I can't believe they've done this. You know, I throw all the big words, dichotomy and them ones, and all these academics, all the academics like follow me, like, yeah, like, gassing me up. And I just always put a disclaimer like, hello, welcome if you're new to my page. I'm an absolute clown. Please understand that on this page, yes, I post about global health, but I'm a person first and foremost. So I will talk about the random thing my 2-year-old cousin said to me. I will talk about something weird I saw that I think is hilarious. I will ask about skincare because that's my interest. And for so long in my life, I felt like I had to play up to this whole, like, beauty is clever, beauty is smart, beauty is like book smart. And that's all there is to me. I will never forget someone at uni said to me, and one of my friends, Rauya, who Saladin knows, someone said to me, oh, BE, you don't have a life because all you do is like read and study. I should have knocked them out. I should have knocked them out. But Rauya got so angry. She was like, that's not all she does. Bear in mind, she's my friend.
Someone said it to you and Rauya overheard.
Someone said it to me. Rauya didn't say that. No. But someone said it to me and Rauya, she was like, that's not all she does. That's not all she's known for, actually.
Big up, right? You better watch your mouth.
And I remember just sitting there like laughing, and it's like, yeah, I've always joked like I don't really have a life, but it's so weird hearing someone else say it to you, like, actually I do. Like, I'm funny. I got jokes, you know, my friends and I have this whole big personality that you might not see. Like I said to you, like, people always meet me in really serious contexts and they just think I'm this serious person who's always talking about books and academia, and like, yeah, that's a large part of who I am, but it's not the only part. You know, I'm really funny as well. I'm really funny, even though my friends told me not to try comedy, but it's fine, we don't have to talk about that. And they're the people telling me I'm funny anyways. So like, I'm a multifaceted person, and even for now, I've accepted, like, it's fine if other people don't see it, as long as I know it, and the people that matter most to me know it. Like, calm, awesome.
Speaking about doing comedy, listen, Route 25, they do comedy nights, you know.
Do they actually?
They've had like, comedy performance before. Obviously, I know you're a writer, so that's definitely something I want to talk about before we round off the conversation.
Sure.
So, yeah, tell me a little bit about like some of the posts you've written, what you intend to do with writing moving forward,
And also the podcast as well. Like,
and also mind the
Shout
gap.
out, mind the gap. Sure.
Talk us through it.
I'll start with the podcast. First of all, we have been negligent with that. Like you guys. No, I'm kidding. You guys had an organized break.
We were on
A break. I'm done. Nah. Do you know what? Like you guys have an excuse, and I want to say Mohammed and I, who I co-host the podcast with. Shout out Mohammed, best guy you ever meet. Super smart, just a great friend overall, and scholar, by the way. What was I gonna say? I want to say like we have an excuse because both of us work full time. All that, and yeah, it's an excuse, but also like Mind the Health Camp is our baby. Like that started from us realizing there's not voices like us in our field, you know. Like they're always like, yeah, we should big up voices from the global south, you know, black and brown people, yeah, we should center their voices. Do they do that? No. And Mohammed and I had a vision of something, and for a very long time it was lip service. You know, when you say to someone, yeah, link up pending still. We did that for 2 years. And then the summer we finished undergrad, it was like, all right, Mohammed, we need to be serious about this. So we did it, and it's great. And people like, but basically influencers. I'm not gonna lie to you guys.
we're a big deal.
we're a big deal. I'm not gonna lie. No, I'm kidding. But like we get a lot of support and love from people, and they say to us, you know, when you come back with a podcast, you know, I listened to this episode on sickle cell. I didn't know it affects X amount of people. I've started giving blood. That stuff is so important to me. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, there's no Mohammed and I need to get back onto it. I think for us it's not so much just a hobby. I think for us it's a lifestyle, man. Like when you learn about something like health, it's something that happens in your everyday. And like as people that came from ends, both of us, we understand how like health inequalities affect people that look like us. Do you know what I mean? Like, and how that all intersects with like your faith, your ethnicity, where you're growing up, like all of that stuff matters. And even though there's so much lip service given to us in our field about it, nothing's done about it. You get me? So that's why we started the podcast. And I think Mohammed and I just need the reminder, like, why did we start this, Mo? To get back into it, just to stop it being all right, cool, we done this episode, tick. Like this is why we've done this, you know. It's for people like us, by us. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, we need to jump back onto that. Shout out Mind the Health Gap. You guys can follow us on Twitter, Instagram. Sorry, it's just a random shout. We'll be back. There's a lot of things, and we have thoughts on a lot of things going on right now. So
I was just gonna say, like, goes without saying, the pandemic was the biggest wake up call, innit? Do you mean, like, in terms of the impact it had on ethnic minority groups? Like, not even just like the kind of the impact of like people passing away from the virus, but like the perception of the virus. Like, it's so interesting to see how different groups kind of viewed it, and like what that says about their relationship between those groups and the state, and like what's the history behind all of that? Why are people why do people have different perceptions? Like, where does that come from?
Of course.
So I think your podcast, from what I know of it, I haven't had the chance to listen to an episode yet.
You should.
It sounds important.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much for saying that. No, I think what you've touched on is so interesting, because this pandemic has definitely changed a lot of people's relationship with disease, their understanding of disease, the collective responsibility of disease, or the experience of disease. All of that stuff is super important, and that's what we try and bring light to it. Now, on the other point of the writing, I started writing just to prove someone wrong. I am that person. Yeah.
Okay.
So someone said to me, they're no longer in my life, but someone once said to me, and this is a time actually that interlinked with the podcast, we were getting quite a bit of coverage. Did you say so myself? Channel 4 reached out to us. By the way, I didn't check the email, so we missed on this opportunity. We don't have to talk about it. They wanted us to come and speak on the impact of COVID in BAME
Yeah.
communities.
Yeah.
I hate that saying that, but
Yeah.
that was how it was framed to us. And I remember saying to this person, like, oh, and we got invited to King's podcast. So
Sick. Yeah,
King's
yeah.
messaged us. I think it was the Global Affairs
Yeah.
podcast. They were just
Yeah.
kind of like, we're doing this thing on inequalities. One of my lecturers, Anne Pollock,
Wow.
she wrote a book at that time called Sickening,
Okay.
which was pretty much about race and health, and who's amazing. And by the way, I contributed to chapter 6 of that book by
No. That's
get the book, guys. So shout out.
Crazy.
But yeah, so
Chapter
she
6, yeah.
chapter 6, Serena Williams.
Is that what the title of the chapter is?
What? No. So the chapter 6 was about Serena Williams' birth story and the maternal inequalities that she faced. So I don't know if you know this story, but Serena Williams came out with this, and she said that there was a lot of negligence because she was a black woman on her healthcare. It nearly caused her to lose her life as a result of it. So, and there's a huge movement around maternal inequalities and maternal justice, not just for black women but for Asian women as well. But as you can imagine, a lot of black Americans have the highest inequalities or outcomes, unequal outcomes in healthcare, especially in the States. So this was the case study that she used in her book, and it was kind of pointing to the fact, like, if this can happen to the best tennis player in this one, notice how I said best tennis player, not female, best tennis player, thank you very much, why would it stop happening to someone like me, like when it's that time for me to have a child? Do you know what I mean? So it was such a like wake up call, right, to write about that. Anyways, so we got called. She did the first podcast. It was in 2 parts, and then Mohammed and I were called to do that. It was awesome. We got to work with our old like university. It was great, whatever. And I remember I sent this clip to this person, and I said, yo, listen to this. Person listened to it now, and they were just like, why do you have to talk about race?
Sorry, say that again. What did they say to listen to?
I sent them the podcast that we did, and the
yeah.
person said, why do you have to talk about race? Like, it's a bit overplayed now. Like, everyone's already said this. Why are you saying this about it? And I was like, so just because someone has said that, I now can't say it because someone else has said it. And I said to this person, like, race is something that's always going to be, racism rather, is always something that's ever present, you know. Just because Malcolm X said, hey, racism is bad, or Martin Luther King said, we should stop, doesn't mean that me in 2022 will now stop speaking about it, you know. And we had this whole back and forth, and I said to this person, so this is actually when I started to writing, like this was like at the height of Black Lives Matter. I was like, I got stuff to say, especially with health. And I said to this person, you know, I wanna start a blog. At that point, it was innocent for me. I was like, I just want to start a blog. I don't even want it to be read by loads of people. This person turned around and said to me, no one's gonna read it.
Sounds like a hater. Enemy of progress.
And they said, what? No one's gonna read it. You know, so many people have written about this before. I said, really? Bet. And that is literally how I started writing. I kid you not.
Wow.
I wrote an article, the first article I ever wrote, and it was something about how ethnic minorities are fighting back amongst the misinformation about COVID and the vaccine, whatever. And I said to myself, you know what? I'm going to go one better. I'm not even going to write a blog post about this. I'm going to get it published. Because I just felt the need to prove to that person, like, revenge is a weird emotion, you know. I just felt the need to prove myself, like, actually, it's not just about this person anymore. It's about me. Like, am I just gonna let someone say I can't do something? Is that who I was raised to be? Absolutely not. Wrote the piece, went to an editor. Bear in mind, at this point, I'm going through all the stuff I was telling you about. I'm at the lowest point in my life. I'm going through depression. I'm going through anxiety. I'm not talking to my family. I'm on my ones. I'm in halls, 4 walls by myself. And I'm just like, I'm going to publish this piece. And guess what? It got published. And I was like, okay, I can do this. Awesome. And it was always, one thing's never enough for me. So I was like, right, what else do I want to do? And I really got into it. That was the hobby. That's what I picked up in the pandemic. Some people do cooking. I know I watched one of your old one of your old
What is this doing?
episodes
Okay, yeah.
where you spoke about how
Oh, yeah.
you were chefing it up. And you had your speciality,
Oh,
your
yeah.
speciality meal
Yeah.
in the baking.
Yeah.
I remember that episode, and for me, that was writing. That was how. On top of giving myself grace, that was how it was very much like, let's declutter whatever is in here, because you have to understand, like, yeah, also I'm reacting to the world that's going on around me, like black people are dying around me like this in the news, like we're getting affected by things the most. So on top of like my own personal stuff, it's like systemic stuff that I'm also facing on a daily, and that's literally how I started. And then I saw a pitch call out. That's basically where like editors do this thing on Twitter when they say like, yo, we want someone to write on X topic, send us like your pitches. And this is the piece that Sadadine always sends me experts from, and it's always really creepy because he'll send it to me and I'm like, I know it's my writing. Like, I know the piece. And it was about forgotten diasporas, and I wrote about my family's history as refugees from apartheid, from even pre-apartheid to apartheid to now, to how like my family is dispersed, it's everywhere, and what that means. And that was just so meaningful. And I remember I wrote that piece and my dad put it in the family group chat, and my grandma called me, and then like she was translating it for other people, and one of my uncles called me. He was like, oh, we've always needed someone to document this, like it's so good you've done this, blah 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 blah. And I was like, okay, like, so this isn't just a thing for me anymore, like it's also impacting other people. And then I started to write some more, and I'm getting messages from my friends like, rah, sis, you were in therapy for 10 years, let me tell you, so this and this and this happened to me, and this and this. And it was like, okay, I'm connecting with people on a completely different level now. Like, it's no longer beauty is just the academic or whatever, or smart or whatever. That multifacetedness is now coming out. People are like, I relate with what you're saying to me. This is something that happened to me. This is something that went on. When's the next piece coming out? Or like, oh, I understand this subject in global health so much better. No one's ever explained it like this. And it's like, okay, this is much bigger than myself. Which brings me to the last thing you asked me. I'm going to write a book. I'm just putting that out there. Done, no.
You heard it here first, folks.
Exactly. I'm going to write a book. I already have a title for it and everything.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you want to share?
It's called In Search for Better Health, where global meets local.
That's cold. Got a little subheading ready.
That sounds spicy. Okay.
And
That sounds good.
this week I'm going to finish writing the book proposal.
Sick.
That's it.
Sick.
That's where I want to go with
It's
it.
happening, man.
Find a seat.
It's gonna be
Come on, man.
4 episodes.
Come on. You know it. So that's what I want to do next with it. Obviously, I still want to keep writing. I think there's so many things like to be told there, like, and in starting to write, I start to realize that our stories are not at the like periphery, they're at the center. Someone famous said that about the world, like how we shouldn't view like minoritized communities like at the edge of the world, like they should be our focus. And I think in writing and dedicating so much of my time to writing about people that look like us, people that grew up in places like us, it just kind of keeps me going. It's tiring. There's so much politics, i.e. people stealing your pictures. We'd have to talk about that. But I enjoy it. I really, for now, this is what I enjoy doing. Yeah.
Wow.
Listen, sadly, I'm very grateful for bringing bringing.
Sorry, I've spoken.
I treasures, bro.
I don't doubt you ever in it. Do you know what I mean? Nah, man. Honestly, like, yeah, man. Big up for. It sounds like what you've, there's a lot I can say right now, but based on the conversation, your willingness to open up, the stuff that you've done outside of this space, like kind of in terms of your writing, your kind of just everything you've done it's very empowering. I think that's the word that kind of comes to mind. Like for me, as an individual, and I'm sure for many people in your circle. So
thank you.
Just like thanks for coming through, man.
Thank you, man. That's heartwarming to hear. Thank you. It's so lovely. Like Saladin, obviously I know you. Solomon, it's so lovely to meet you today. And honestly, I was gassed and very nervous when you guys were like, come on the podcast. Like, But yeah, thank you. It's very nice to speak so candidly. It's also really nice to take focus out of serious topics. Yeah, and just have a nice conversation. It's also really lovely to self-reflect. Like, oh, I did that, mad. So yeah.
And just like how you look back on your journal entries, hopefully you look back at this in 5 years' time and just start saying, like,
Oh, damn.
imagine,
This
like,
is
that's how
this is a journal entry. What are you talking about? It's a journal entry.
Nah, wicked. Is there anything you want to let people know? Obviously, Mind the Health Gap podcast.
Don't know.
Anything else you want to say before we...
But the last thing I'll just say to people is it's okay to not know where you're going with life or what you're doing. It's also okay if you do know and you have those plans, but I think something I've learned the hard way is to give yourself grace. A lot of grace sometimes in achieving your goals. Everything comes with time. My dad always says your goals are there to achieve. Like, why are you rushing? Because I think, especially maybe our generation, it's like, oh, I did this before I was 30. And it's like, okay, I did it at 31. What's your point? Do you know what I mean? I'm not 31, by the way, but I'm just saying. All of this comes with time. And yeah, the main thing, actually, a really important motto I saw on, was it Twitter? Was someone said, instead of like all this manifestation stuff or like pushing yourself to like limits you literally cannot like achieve or like compromising your health, someone said simply just say to yourself and to God every day, God, show me how good it can get. That for me, I heard that and I was like, okay, that be better, show me how good it can get, God. That kind of stuff, in that I'm not perfect, but in whatever direction I'm going, and with God by my side, whatever it is I put my mind to it, I'm going to achieve it, and I'm going to achieve it well. And I just hope that for everyone else. Yeah, and like, let me know what you guys think about my writing and stuff.
Yeah, 100%.
Please don't be like intimidated. I know I carry myself in a way, but I'm a marshmallow inside. Thanks.
So if anyone sees beauty outdoors, it's on site, just straight up hello, what are you telling me?
100%.
And definitely we'll link like